Hi guys, it's Heather the Crochet Witch. I thought today, since I have recently been doing a lot of blanket showing off, since I've recently been doing a collaboration working on a project that is granny squares, that I would give a little take on my own way of like taking your scraps and making solid granny squares. So this is what we're going to be making today, just a nice solid little granny. You can of course do multiple rows. The project that I was actually talking about has quite a few rows more than that. But just to do something like this, like nice and solid, I thought I would show you today how to do that, just in case like maybe you don't know, maybe you've only done traditional granny squares, or maybe you have never seen the way I do my corners, and maybe it's something that you would like to do. So let's get started, and I will show you Heather's version of the solid granny square. See you in just a sec, guys. Okay, so forever now, I don't exactly know why, I guess, but I always tend to start out my granny squares with an H hook, which is a 5mm. I am a Susan Bates girl, as most of you probably already know. I think the reason, honestly, why I do it is because when I was first learning to crochet, when I was first realizing that YouTube had videos to watch for tutorials, the lady who doesn't make videos anymore, that I had learned some granny squares from, she always seemed to use an H hook and 4-weight yarn. So I just started using an H hook. Certainly you could use whatever size hook you want. There's no real rules as far as that goes. Obviously you want to use one that, like, if you're using a jumbo 6, you don't want to use like a G or an H or anything like that, probably. But, you know, to each their own. Whatever it is that you're deciding to use with your yarn is what you can use. So what I usually do, and you're certainly welcome to do, say, a chain 3 or a chain 4 and hook them together. I usually do, I guess I could show you first. I usually do a magic circle so that the middle is nice and tight, which is just making a loop like this, putting your yarn under the loop and over this yarn and drawing it under. And then I do the first like row of the granny all in this loop right here. So the first thing is 3 double crochet. So you chain 1 and that'll count as your first double crochet, or chain 3, I'm sorry. And that'll count as your first double crochet. And then all in this loop, you work 2 more double crochet. And then chain 2. Sometimes, depending on the yarn, I only chain 1, especially doing a solid granny square. It really depends on how you want your corner like holes to look, because everything else in the granny square is going to be solid. But with most granny square corners, people do chain 2, so I am going to show you to chain 2. So that's going to end up being a second square. It's going to look real funky until we pull this thing together, though. So we chain 2, and we work 3 more double crochet for your third side of your square. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And we're doing 1 more side to make our fourth side, so we chain 2 and work 3 more double crochet all into this magic circle. 1, 2, and 3. See how funky this does not resemble a square much at all, right? Here's where the magic part happens. So I always grip my last little cluster and start pulling. And see how as it starts to come together, you're getting those corners. Right now we still have a hole in the middle, so grab that space again and keep tugging. Now did you see that where it gave a little extra? That's the middle part of the ring fully giving and coming together. That's the part where you can't tug too hard and too aggressively or you'll end up breaking your yarn. I know with some yarns, like just yarn dependent, I always tend to break it. Well, not tend to, but certain yarns tend to break easier than other yarns. So if it's really delicate, you just want to be careful. And you give that a little tug. After we're done, this part gets sewn in, so it won't be coming out. And if you're really, really, really worried about it, you can probably tie, as you're going to tie the back, tie one little knot right here and then tie it in, because that would be the back of your square anyway. But I've never done that, and I've never needed to do that. Now, anytime that I am on a row where I'm going to do another row afterwards, I like to keep my stitch here in the middle of the square, where if you chain 2 and then joined it, you'd be over here on the edge. So what I do is I chain only 1, and then I dip into this first double crochet, which was a chain 3, so really like the 3rd chain of that chain row. Dive in there, insert the hook and yarn over, pull it through, and do a single crochet. So that sets you up to be right in the middle again, right? And then that's basically like a slight heightener. heightener. But you only need to chain 2 for the next double crochet, because you've already got the little bit of height added from that single crochet, but you're still in the middle here, because what you're going to do is work down and around, obviously, and then you come back with your last stitches in here from this side, so it meets it up pretty perfectly right here without any like weirdness or whatever. So in a normal granny, you would put your double crochets here and then either chain 1 or not, and then work into here. But if you want all of this solid, you're just going to start working your double crochets, work 1 double crochet into each one of the other double crochets, except you want your corners to have 2 in. So like this corner, you want to have 2 here. You also want to have 2 here. So you do dive back into this corner and do your double crochet. And there's 2 there now, right? Then you do 1 in each of the 3 previous double crochets. So you're going to do 1, and 2, and 3, and then grow it in the corner by 1 and put 2 double crochets in the corner. 1 and 2. Okay? And see, it's all solid instead of the space here in the middle with the granny clusters. So then you chain 2 because we're going to turn the corner. And we're going to do in this corner your 2 double crochets that are growing the side. So 1 and 2. And then you just work 1 double crochet in each one of the 3 double crochets in the previous row. So 1, 2, and 3, and then 2 double crochet in the corner to grow that side. 1 and 2, and then chain 2 for the corner, and we're going to grow this side now with 2 double crochets. So same corner loop right there, 2 double crochets. Then once again, 1 double crochet in each one of the previous rows double crochets, which in this case is 3. So 1, and 2, and 3. And then you're back to a corner, so 2 double crochet to grow the corner. Okay. See how solid this is looking, except for these corner spaces. And then we're going to grow the corner again, or sorry, chain 2 to make the corner, and then grow the last corner. So in that chain space for the corner, you do 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. And then 1 in each of the previous double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then grow your last corner by 2 again. So 1 and 2. Now at this point, you have a nice solid square here. You need to decide, are you making a bigger row or are you making just small squares? I think most people tend to do maybe 5 rows or so in their squares, but it's up to you. I have a blanket going where the squares are this big, so I normally would stop here on the blanket that I'm doing right now. But if you choose to stop here, you would chain 2 to finish off that corner, and then into this top of chain to make your first double crochet, you would just slip stitch it and then slip stitch that closed, and you would cut your yarn and you would have a nice lovely square. You can just sew in your ends and make sure that's tight. If you work a lot more rows, like, it is always possible that you're going to start seeing like a little tiny bit of hole here happening at the very end. Just tighten it back up again and then sew that in to secure it, and you should be golden for that one. If you are growing a new row, I suggest, like I said, the way I do my corners is a bit different than everybody else. So if you finish your double crochet here in the corner and you decide you're going to do another row, you chain 1 and then go into that corner, yarn over, and single crochet. Okay? I suppose you could do that to finish it off if you wanted to, but it does kind of grow up the height just a little bit, so I would just slip stitch over the way I just showed you if you're going to end it. This just helps center your next row, like, to grow into, so you would just continue growing up and up. So I hope this tutorial has helped you. I hope that if you already knew, maybe you found a new way. If you're a new Granny Squares, maybe you found a new way to do it with the solids, or maybe this helped grow your rows up a little bit for you if you didn't do it that way before, perhaps. But either way, hopefully I help shed some light on anything you may have been curious about with solid Granny Squares, because I do them a lot. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I will try to remember to link my joining tutorial for these squares in case you end up falling in love with squares and getting addicted and making tons of beautiful blankets of your own. Until the next time, I will talk to you later. Bye, guys. I love you.